Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Toxic Happy Hour, and good morning on the Toxic Happy Hour. This is where we are toxic towards scams that are delaying the adoption of sound money in the world. Generally, we are quite happy, and Bitcoin is quality life. Today, we have Puppy back from his overseas travels. Good to have you. And we have a special guest for you. We have David Bennett. Welcome to the show, David Bennett. Welcome to the Toxic Happy Hour. What are you drinking today?
I'm drinking water. I have to go pick up my children in a vehicle, so I can't drink until after it's all said and done, which I will be probably drinking later on today, just not right now.
That is very responsible, and it's the way it should be. We can totally appreciate that. So keep the water on. Puppy, PUBLORD.HODL, what are you drinking today?
So yes, good to be back stateside. Just a little bit of jet lag, but what I found, what pairs well with that is some Samuel Adams Oktoberfest. We're gonna
good one.
Gonna get a little festive here. They don't have much of this overseas, so when I came back, I said, hey, let's get in the spirit of fall and Thanksgiving.
Right. That looks good. That sounds good. I've got a little American surprise for you later on, but I'm starting up with, it's still early. It's only 11 a.m. I'm waking up here. I'm starting with a solid bucket of coffee, French vanilla in my New York City Starbucks coffee mug. So guys, we got to decide on some topics, but why don't we first hear from you, David, on what you're doing and your Bitcoin podcast and everything going on in your side of the Bitcoin world.
I'm just as clueless as everybody else. There's no real answers out there. One of the things that as far as the podcast is concerned, the Bitcoin podcast is starting to go into interviews. I did my first interview ever last week with Samson Mo and his guy over at Infinite Fleet, Wayne Wan Chong. He's the art director for Infinite Fleet. Nobody talks about Bitcoin and games other than in passing. Hey, wouldn't this be great for games? Well, duh. Geez, how is it going to be good for games? And what are the mechanics that make that kind of thing work? So we talked about how they raised money for the game, and the INF token that's going to be inside the game, which is actually on the Liquid side chain and is directly somehow, I'm not clear on Liquid. There's too many cats to juggle in the world in Bitcoin. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's a token is what a token is. Thank God, at least it's on the Liquid side chain and not an ERC20 token. I mean, that was what I was going to say. That's what I was afraid of, is he was going to go, oh shit, it's an ERC20, and I'm like,
yeah. No, I think the only tokens that I can appreciate are the ones on the Liquid side chain, which is running on Bitcoin. So that's where you get that solid hash rate. That means that it's not so attackable as when it's on ERC20 Ethereum. Dig-up cards, Hauser cards.
Well, that thing just locked up a cool $1 million in wrapped BTC, Ethereum, and USDC. Did y'all hear about that one?
Tell us.
Oh, we'll talk about that one later.
Okay.
Let me finish up. We'll talk about that next. I just want to finish up that the second interview that I did was with Scott Sibley from Play Shamory. He's the guy that did the Shamory game card or card game. And I wanted to talk to him about his thoughts and how he developed that game, and, why a card game and colors, and, because the whole point about Bitcoin and is supposed to be Bitcoin and other things. That's why it's ... It can't only be about Bitcoin, because it's like, you don't run a world on economics. There's got to be, somebody's got to produce the pig that can be part of the economics of, I have money, I would want to give you money for that pig. It's not, if everybody was walking around and we were all economists and there was no lawyers, doctors, farmers, or nothing else, it'd be a pretty shitty place. So it's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to look for where Bitcoin starts to intersect with other things, and gaming is a natural one. But for 312 straight episodes, I pretty much did nothing but the news. And I'm still doing that. That's one of the things that I do, because when I started the podcast, even though I did want to talk to people about other things, it became glaringly clear that nobody was going to tell me what the hell was going on like a news show. So I sit down and I will read you anywhere between 8 and 12 news stories every day so that you can drive your car and not be in danger of getting killed because you're looking at your phone trying to figure out what's going on. So generally speaking, I do that every day. I wake up at 5, hit record by about 6, and it's usually uploading at 7:15 a.m. Central time. So that means that by, I don't know, Eastern time, 8:15, 8:30, an episode will drop, and I target about an hour. So that's sort of nutshelling the podcast.
You know what's great about having David on this week was he's following up Denver Bitcoin. So one of the things I go to work a little bit earlier than when he releases his podcast, but they Bitcoin End is one of my favorites just to catch someone else. I read through each day. You try to grab a couple articles yourself if you have time, but if I'm missing something, it's a great way just to catch up on some of the current events and have someone else's take on it. But one of the key things in the introduction I love is how Bitcoin sort of rubs up against other things in the world. And what's fantastic is we just had Denver Bitcoin on Monday, so we found out how Bitcoin rubs up against the oil and gas industry, for example, or with Citadel, how it rubs up against creative minds. So that's such a great perspective on. We don't just don't focus. Everyone loves number go up technology. I get that, but Bitcoin is so much more than number go up. It's so much more.
What?
Believe it or not.
Well, I had a thought about that earlier today. I was doing a calculation on a more stable comparison for a Bitcoin than fiat, because it occurred to me that we may be getting this all wrong insofar it's not really number go up technology, because one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. So it's arguable that it's possible to think of its number go down technology, because fiat's just freaking tanking beneath the feet of this thing. Yeah. It's just tanking. I mean, it's terrible to watch, but it is what it is. So a long time ago, I had it in my head that what's one other thing that they're, that pretty much guaranteed they're not making very much more of. And I started thinking about land. Arable land. And I did a calculation today, and I came up with a floor price of Bitcoin at $600,000. Because if you take it, or one Bitcoin being $600,000, because if you take there's 1.4 billion hectares of arable land, which means you can farm it. Yeah. And it's not, on the side of a mountain or something like that, you just can't do anything with. Yes, you can rock climb it, you can tree farm. There's all kinds of shit you can do on non-arable land, but in the minds of the people, arable land is what you farm on. That's where food comes from. There's 1.4 billion hectares of it. So if you go through the math, I ended up with about 67 square centimeters per Satoshi when it was all said and done. Without going through, I'm not going to bore you with the calculations, but when I compared that against the USDA's year 2020, what is the value of an acre of farmland? They do it every year. It's on average, it's about $4,100. So if you continue to do the math, you end up with around a $600,000 Bitcoin, which I don't think, I honestly think that's going to far surpass that. But as far as, because I ran into this problem today where Joe Rogers dropped the October edition of Bitcoin Words, and he had set up these LNURL paywalls, which I'd never seen before. So I don't know if they're brand new or what, but I was like, oh, well, he gives it away for free. But if you want to help, he allows a paywall, and you can select, one of the paywalls and then donate through the Lightning Network and pay for it that way if you so choose. So it's really clearly a donation, but it's $15. When I brought it up, he's like, oh crap, I forgot to readjust that. And I'm like, we've got to have something better to compare this thing against than fiat, because at this point, it's like holding a bowl of Jello. I don't know where fiat's going to go. It's not going to be good, but
it's going to go down. That's for sure. So I just want to say, so the $600,000 dollar per Bitcoin, that is, of course, or correct me if I'm wrong, when we're only looking at agricultural land, right? All other value production, because I can see some questions in the chat. All other value production, goods and services, is not taken into account there. So,
so that is absolutely correct. Right. That is absolutely correct. It's only for land, and only because I just wanted to carry the math out further. If I were to stop, I mean, like, honestly, there probably wouldn't be a question if I were to just simply stop at, 67 square centimeters per Satoshi, right? That, because at that point, at least you're pegging it to something other than itself, because one Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin, but you're not pegging it to garbage fiat currency. So you got to find out something else that has real substantial value that at least mimics the 21 million cap on Bitcoin. And the only thing that I can think of is land. And then somebody will say, yeah, we'll terraform Venus. And let's say we did that next year and it was open for business in 2 years. Well, yeah, then that calculation's absolutely screwed. But I'm having more, and as the days go by, I'm having more difficulty thinking about Bitcoin in terms of fiat.
I mean, fiat, I know people, I guess kind of jokingly says, it's not about the price of Bitcoin, because one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. But I disagree. It's okay to look at the amount of fiat, because what you're really measuring is the purchasing power of that one Bitcoin you have. What is the purchasing power out there in the fiat denominated world? So looking at the price is absolutely okay. As Gigi also says, one sat equals one sat. Absolutely true. But it's okay to look at it as not only a measuring of the purchasing power of your Bitcoin going up, but also, to me, how far are we in the Bitcoin taking over? It's like the price of Bitcoin is measuring how far we are in the disruption of money. That being said, I just want to say shout out to all you guys in the chat. We have the best live chat in the space. We've got BTC Moon Guy was first in, the Beast. We've got Greg. We've got no other than Gigi, who's going to come on the show once he's done with his things. We got MG Smith 4, Mervin, John, Plan Marcus. A lot of good people there in the chat. And Lapra just joined. Take it over.
Yeah, let me jump in on this one real quick, because I remember specifically this tweet from Dave, because I basically totally ripped it off, stole it, but in fairness, I gave him credit for it when I did it. So I came with a tweet just to simplify it, because he so far advancing goes down a rabbit hole of arable land and all this. I basically did dumb mathematics and divided just because basically most of the people that would follow me are mostly American. I just took number of acres in the U.S. and divided it out by number of Bitcoin, just to explain to people to look at it as land. Because to me, I view Bitcoin more as digital land than I do even digital gold. That's where I find the value in it. It's just it's finite. It's land. I look at gold as a medium of exchange, more or less. But for now, it is, to me, it's digital land. That's how, for example, Michael Saylor treats it. He just buys land and holds it. And so when I saw that, it really inspired me to rethink what is it really. Fiat, I don't even compare it to fiat anymore. I mean, it's just going to blow it away. At one point, the numbers won't even make sense to try to say, oh, a Bitcoin's worth $2 million, $3 million. It'll just get blown away. I love to look at it as there's just this small piece of land called Bitcoin in the world, and you can get a piece of it.
Absolutely. So MG Smith 4 has made a great point here. We've reached parity with one Fiat 500. So one BTC equals one Fiat 500. If anyone doesn't know what a Fiat 500 is, it is a small Italian car that's been around for decades. I think it's still around. So Greg is asking what happened. I blacked out. Either you're drinking something or we just banned you from the chat, Greg. I can't tell. So let me go get an American drink here. I'll show you guys in a second.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds. You guys carried on.
No, we will. Yeah. So, David, I really did. I remember because I copied you in this. I said, hey, man, I hope you don't. I gave you a DM. I said, I hope you don't mind. I borrowed this and shared it because I thought it was so brilliant and such an original idea that no one discusses. Is Bitcoin as land?
There has been a couple of other people that have talked about it. It's like, I think at one point or another, we'll find that our ideas that we come up with are starting to overlap, and it looks like it may look like that we're ripping each other off. But what I think is happening is that more and more people are also starting to be confused with the volatility of not Bitcoin, but the volatility of fiat against Bitcoin. And so it's like, oh, well, Bitcoin's volatile. No, it's not. It's not. That's not the volatile side of the equation. It's like it's just as likely that it could be the fiat side of the equation. That's the one that's more volatile. But well, hold on. I was looking at the somebody called me a donkey. Greg, how dare you? I can't even say the word eclipses.
It's called an ellipse, right?
Yes, ellipses.
I'm not even gonna try on that, but I'll take that small a break there in the talk to introduce. So what I'm gonna be having now is I had this delivery, Woodford Reserve. So that's some Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. When in Rome, do as the Romans, and I'm in US, so I'm gonna try some of your good bourbon here, and it's some like I don't know, special label number, whatever. So wait, let me see if I can catch the sound here. You get that?
So basically, David's going to send an Uber to pick up the kids, and he's going to break out some bourbon himself.
If I had a bottle, I normally don't keep anything stronger than beer and beer and wine in the house, but. Well, no, I take that back. Right now, there is a bottle of Mount Gay rum chilling out in the kitchen.
All right.
We were having
gay rum.
The rum is very gay, very, very gay. It's terrible. Actually, it's from the Barbados. It's actually quite tasty. But my wife, when it gets, if it even looks like it's getting cold, my wife wants to have two things: soups, stews and soups, and hot buttered rums. So she makes her own. This actually, she calls it batter, but basically it's like a pound of butter softened, and then you put all kinds of other stuff in it, and then chill it back down, and just cut discs off this log and throw it in a mug and pour hot water over it, and then spike the shit out of it. It's rather tasty, very gay, but rather tasty.
So I did the tour.
Quite interesting.
I did the tour there once. And you go to Barbados, where I get to go around the world, which is nice. Yeah, the Mount Gay rum tour is a must attend event.
Really,
no one comes away from there unhappy.
If there's any alcohol tour in the world of a brewery, anything, PUBLORD has been there. To that, cheers, guys.
Hey.
I totally ruined your special reserve bourbon here with some Coke, right? You gotta.
Oh my God! Coke. Now you're American.
Hey, when in America, do as the Americans, or something like that.
Hey, fun fact on Barbados: the only country outside the United States that George Washington ever visited.
Huh.
The only
That's interesting. George Washington.
Yeah, his brother. I think his brother was there. So when I was in Barbados, they have the place where he stayed, type of plaque.
Well, wait a minute. Yeah. Didn't George Washington? He must have had to have traipsed into Canada, because I remember George Washington pissing off a whole lot of people prior to the American Revolution.
I don't think so. I don't think he ever went
Really?
over the Canadian border. Yep.
Well, no, wait. That wasn't there even a Canadian border at the time? Wasn't like
Nah, it was
Canada
wilderness.
lost to the British and therefore became
Yeah.
Canada?
It was wilderness. He was a surveyor and he was out there, and they got him to do some other things. It was sort of like surveying and military was sort of meshed together. And he was told to stand down, and George Washington, being 22 or 23 or whatever he was, kind of didn't. And we almost got into a war with the British before we hit the American Revolution, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, good times, and quite a general you had there in George Washington. So number go up. Yesterday we had a $1,500 green candle, and we're talking from open to close. Like, it actually moved $2,000 in total yesterday on Bitstamp. That was quite funny on Twitter. I gotta be honest. Like, I had planned, and I told you guys both a couple of days ago, 2 days ago. I told you tomorrow, which is yesterday, I'm going to get a lot of work done so we can just focus on the Toxic Happy Hour on Friday. But yesterday, waking up and Bitcoin Twitter was going crazy with hilarious memes. We got memes from the people in the chat as well yesterday. It was just too entertaining, and I got carried away. Like, I didn't get much done yesterday, to be honest.
Nobody ever gets anything done when those candles start spiking like that.
You know, what's funny is, and I was talking to Anders offline yesterday, was I was coming back from overseas, and literally I was in Germany, got on a flight at 14,000. I landed, open up and checked the price, and we're pushing like 15.8, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I said, what a flight that was.
Yeah, I've taken airplanes and a couple of airplane trips since being into the space, and have had those things. Sadly, one was the other way, where I was like, we got on and everything's good, and you get off and it's like, can I get back on the plane?
That sounds like November 18, where I remember there was a floor at 6,000 for like 2 months, but we came from above. When we come from above, we're working through the support until it crashed, and then we went from 6,000 to 3,100 like in no time. That was pain.
Yeah, and then when we saw it again, it was like, March. It was this last March when all the hysteria hit. We went to, what was it, 38, something like that?
Yeah,
3,800?
Yeah.
That's right. 38.
And I remember I had been in, since I'd been in for a long enough time to see these kind of swings. And when that one went to 3,100, I was like, even though I'd seen that before, it still hurt. That one was like, oh man, I was like, it felt sick to my stomach. It was, even my wife, who is clearly not into this as much as I am, but even she looked at me and she's like, I've seen you go through this shit before. What is your problem? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And then when the March crash happened, I was like, meh. It's just going to end up going back up. I'm just so sick of like the whole gut wrenching feeling. And I'm like, this time I just don't care. I just don't. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am spent as far as, ninja launches of Bcash and Craig Wright and getting sucker punched and 50% drawdowns and all. After a while, you just get numb. And when I had put out a tweet the other day or yesterday, I think, and it was IBM, breaking news. IBM goes all in FOMO. 5 days later, loses everything because we have a 50% retrace. Dude, this is my 5th retrace. And that's what it would be. That's what it would be. You'd have like major corporations actually getting the FOMO feel and doing exactly what we've seen individual people in retail do time and time again and blow it all. And yet still Bitcoiners, even up against corporations, would be like, I've been here so many times, I don't even see the code anymore. I just see blonde, brunette, redhead.
So we all know that MicroStrategy, they bought and they put it away like for good. They don't want to touch it. But imagine if some of these companies come in a little bit more novice, and they buy a huge portion, and then they set a stop loss. Imagine they set a stop loss, and in comes the 30% correction, and boom, you got like a monster supply hitting the market. I mean, I doubt they can be that stupid, but you really never know. David, where's your accent from? I absolutely love your accent. Share with us and the audience where you picked up.
Well, I was born and raised and still live in West Texas. I just keep moving steadily north. I was born in the Permian Basin, and my dad was an independent oil contractor. Actually, well, he was what they called an oil driller. He would drill. He's the guy that drilled oil wells. That's what he did. And then I went to school up in Lubbock, and then my wife got a job up further in the Panhandle, and so I quit working at tech, and that me and my wife met there, and then we just keep moving north. And at one point or another, I got to start moving a little bit more to the west, because like I want to be close. I want to somehow or another get closer to Colorado. I want to get closer to Colorado I want to be in Colorado without it actually being Colorado. There was an old map, 1854, of Texas that shows just how much Texas went into Colorado, and it actually went as far west as Silverton, Colorado, which is, at that point, if that was still named Texas at this point, I'd be like, that's exactly where I'd be, is in the San Juan Mountains.
And why don't you want to live there just because it's called Colorado?
They've
Politics.
I don't know. Texas doesn't have a state income tax, so I don't have to deal with two different income taxes. Yeah. Also, Texas harbors a lot of really independent people. This is the state that it's expected for you to know as an individual living here that you will be shot if you are found in somebody's house, unless of course you're somewhere inner city, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. Actually, I'm going to pull San Antonio off that list. That place can get freaking rough. But Austin, apparently you can just walk in and slap people around and they're all pacifists. They won't do anything. But after that, the majority of Texas is, if you're going to screw with another Texan, you're kind of taking your life in your hands. And that's where I want to be, because there's this mutual respect of like, you don't screw with me, I won't screw with you. And unless you get really rural in Colorado, it's really liberal. And I don't have anything directly against people who are liberal, but I do have people, take offense to people who tell me what I should be doing with my property, that I should be giving it over, that I should not have or even want, firearms, that protecting myself and my family is stupid, because nobody's ever going to hurt you. And I'm like going, you are the most dangerous creep I've ever seen. It's like, my dad used to tell me, do not hang around with stupid people, because you will be the one that ends up dead, hurt, or arrested, and somehow they get off scot-free. And that's what I just don't hang out with people that don't take personal safety, personal responsibility. It's just all that kind of thing. We all make mistakes at one point or another. But flat ass telling people that firearms are not going to be part of your life because I say so is like, well, we have what's called state level arbitrage. And that's why I will visit, Colorado. But until you guys change your ways, I wouldn't ever consider living there. Wyoming, I would consider, because it's a fun place and it's filled with the same kind of people, and they have mountains,
You know what's interesting about Colorado, because my parents have lived there for 25 years. They've relocated since, but when I visit, I mean, Colorado of 25, 30 years ago was so different from today. It had been much more independent, more closely related to Texas. What you have found over the years is so many people having an exodus from California. The furthest they would go is Colorado, and just sort of relocate there. But they would bring their voting habits with them. Mm-hmm. So it turned much more left leaning over the years. You think that the problem was the government out there, but really it was your voting habit, and that's what happens.
Yeah. Although, again, the more rural you are in pretty much anything that's considered a flyover state. And honestly, if you were to go to Bakersfield, California, you're going to find a lot of the leave me alone attitude. But
Yeah.
if you go to LA or San Francisco or whatever,
Yeah.
but I mean, hell, even Northern California, you get into places like Lake County, they're not putting up with crap either. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just not. So it's really these, you know, highly or densely populated urban centers that you get a lot of the problems, which is why I left. I couldn't do it anymore. I'm like going,
Huh.
there's just too many Karens that live here, and I don't want to be around the Karens. I just can't do it.
Right. Yeah. I honestly think I'm Texan ready. I like this. You say that people don't mess with each other. Like, as long as you don't interfere with me, I'm not going to interfere with you. And that's why we had peace during the Cold War, because both sides had nuclear arms. And when both sides have nuclear arms, you don't have any battles because nobody want to escalate it. And I guess it's like that on a personal level in Texas.
Well, most
I'm
people just, most people, I think, at their heart really want to be left alone. And that's what I don't understand about people who will, I don't know, somehow or another have no problems with people telling them what to do all the time. I don't get it. I just don't. I guess if that's what floats your boat, then, by all means, man, go live that life. I don't want, I don't want to be around it. So that's one of the reasons why I was born in Texas. I'm actually first generation Texan. So there's people like Alex Jones. He's like, I'm 500 generations in Texas. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. But I mean, there are people that
we
are
were
like,
here since Alex Jones' family was there since 200 BC. That's solid.
Yeah, and I'm like going, look, I don't know if I would actually rather have that lineage or the ability to say for the first time in the Bennett family, as far as I'm concerned, I'm first generation Texan, like born in the actual state of Texas. I'm like, I actually kind of like that better than we've been here since before the birth of the solar system, because well, then who cares? It's like, you didn't start anything. You're just continuing on.
So this will blow your mind, David, because as we joked about earlier, we each had the same last name of Bennett. On my mother's side of the family, maiden name is Austin, and roots are the roots go back to Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah,
in the family lineage.
Yeah.
So one of the oldest families in the U.S. From that side. But yeah, Texas is that's such the spirit of what America was and should be, and is one of the last bastions of what is.
Yeah, and it's just so different. From if I go to Galveston, it's a completely different vibe. If I go to Alpine over there in like extreme West Texas, it's a completely different vibe. Dallas is different. Houston is different. And my personal favorite of just how weird shit can get in Texas is going all the way to the Louisiana-Texas border and going, there's a lake. I think it's like Milam, Texas on Lake Toledo Bend. That place is where there's like dead cypress trees coming out of the lake on a full moon. And there's like ground fog and shit and moss coming out of the trees. And you'd swear to God that Stephen King's going to just jump out at you and just act you to death. We like roll into Milam and we went to go play pool, and we couldn't play pool because there was 2 pool tables at the pool hall in this leaky, broken down shack. And me and my buddy were like, well, I looked at my buddy and I go, what about that one? He goes, well, can't you see those gentlemen over there, David, are playing dominoes? I'm like, yeah, but it's a pool table. And he's like, I don't think you understand where you are. Like, what? I'm going to listen to you. You probably understand that we're not going to go over there and say, excuse me, sir, we would like to play pool. Yeah, that wasn't going to work. No, that Milam.
Explain that. I find that very interesting. So some guys were playing dominoes and therefore you could not use the pool table. Were they playing on the pool table, or
they were playing on the pool table, and these gentlemen were in their probably late 60s. And there was just like, when I look back on it now, like when I was a kid back then, we were like 17 or something like that. When I look at it from, with those eyes, I didn't see it. But now I was looking with these eyes and I'm like going, dude, that shit's town mafia. You're not telling them to move. The reason that they're not on some other table is because they don't care, and they don't need to care, because anybody who does give them shit is just not going to work out well. It's just not. So we left, and then we had a whole other episode of washing his grandfather's El Camino because we got mud on it. And that's when we discovered that his grandfather apparently painted his El Camino with black latex paint. The pressure washer just literally stripped all the paint off, and we're like, oh God. We weren't supposed to have the car.
The Domino story reminds me of the classic movie Blues Brothers when the band shows up and says, listen, boys, we only play two types of music in this place, country and Western.
Yeah, we play both kinds, country and Western.
And Western.
Like, oh God, dude, this is gonna suck. Yeah, kind of. It was like, man, this is just not something. It was not a hill to die upon, and we probably would have gotten our asses handed to us. So, yeah,
probably.
Yeah, but that's Eastern Texas is completely different than all other parts of Texas, and this is one of the reasons why when they say it's like a whole other country. It's like 4 or 5.
All right, so Eastern Texas is where things get crazy or what?
Yeah, that's just backwoods, like Appalachia type crap. Yeah, it's like banjo, bridge sitting, genetic defectives just chilling out, watching people raft down and figure out how they're going to go capture them, like in Deliverance and whatnot. It can get real rough. I mean, it can get real rough anywhere, but like on the other extreme, from swamps and forests to deserts that will kill you, is the Rio Grande Valley. You go down to Big Bend, the national park down there, right off the Rio Grande. That place, when I was there, I want to say it was either early August or late July, and it's the worst possible time that you can be in the Chihuahuan Desert. And we went to an old cinnabar mine, and it was 112 ambient temperature Fahrenheit. And I was like, it's really hot out here. I think I'm going to grab some shade. And I started turning around to look for a tree, or like a old building out there at the mine. And next thing I know, I turned a full circle, and I was like, well, I'll turn around again to see if I could miss something. And next thing I know, I was like literally in the middle of my third circle turning around when I realized I was kind of panicking, because there's no shade. It doesn't exist. There's no tree. There's no way to get out of the shelter. It's like, if it's 12 noon, you are married to the sun, and it will kill your ass dead if you're not hydrated, and somehow or another you can't get into a car or so. Like, if you're literally walking around, good luck, because that desert will kill your ass dead, which is one of the things about that goes back to the mutual respect. I really learned on that day. It's like, yeah, you really need to respect Mother Nature in ways that you only talked about before. Now I feel it in my bones, because I was out there going, man, if I mess around, I could die. We were on the way back. The road we were on is 72 miles of that. And we were in the Suburban, and that's when we got our flat tire, was after that. And I'm like, oh God, are you kidding me?
Hey, David, how often does your Bitcoin podcast come out? How often do you read up news? Is it on a daily basis or?
Yeah, daily. Yeah, Monday through Friday, except there are days when shit happens. Can't do it. And because it's news, I mean, what am I going to, because it's news, I can't put on a show that happened last week, because that news is already dead. So there's not something I can just spin up an old show, which is why there's a gap. And I'm just not going to concern myself about it right now. Now, I mean, I can always I do a little bit more interviews. I'll be able to rerun those in a pinch. But before that, it's like, if I didn't do one on Wednesday because shit happened, they're just not a show. So
right. So do you read up news? What are your sources, or do you also give your take and analysis on the news events happening in Bitcoin?
I start with, like, I'll wake up at 5, start scanning, Decrypt, Cointelegraph, CoinDesk, BTC Times, Crypto Potato gets in there every once in a while, and a few smattering of others that I can't think of offhand. Scan their front pages and find anything that's even worthy of reading, because like half of Cointelegraph sometimes is really hard to ingest. Lately, Decrypt.co has been talking more and more about DeFi, and it's been really hard to pick shit out of there, because I'm just like, unless it's a flat ass failure, I'm not going to report on how DeFi is changing the world, because eventually it's just going to change your pocketbook. I mean,
Right.
like I said, we saw, we'll end up talking about the $1 million debacle anyway. But so yeah, I'll sit there, I'll pick them, and then I'll tweet them out so that I can put them into, because like the way that I use Twitter is with TweetDeck. So I'll have like my incoming feed, and then I'll have a morning roundup collection, and then I'll have the stuff that I tweeted out, and then like, notifications. But TweetDeck makes it really nice because I can like tweet out something. It goes into one column that is stuff that I tweeted, and then I can literally drag and drop that tweet into the collection that is the morning roundup. And that's what I use to like stack the deck of the show. So once it's all stacked, and I got about 10, like I said, anywhere, depending on length, anywhere between 8 and 12 stories, then I will open them all up into tabs, and then get like CNBC up, BitInfo charts, and Clark Moody's dashboard to do vital statistics in the middle of the show. Mm-hmm. And then read the rest of the stories, then, finish off with the joke. I haven't found a whole lot of train wrecks lately. I used to do that a lot. When I find just something just absolutely egregious, it'd be the train wreck. But lately I haven't seen very much of that. Although right. the $1 million thing with DeFi is probably going to be Monday's train wreck.
Right. So I unfollowed CoinDesk on Twitter yesterday. They made a tweet where they were saying that Ethereum was practically like it had a lot of the same properties of Bitcoin, but it had added utility. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh my God, are you saying Ethereum is the same, but it's got these other things, so it's even better? I had to unfollow CoinDesk. I don't know why I was following them, but I guess it's partly Ethereum sponsored. So I don't know of that. But anyway, guys out there, if you want to check out David's podcast, it's in the links in the YouTube description below. So Guy, PUBLORD, Pubby, what do you have any? Do you have any question for David, or or we're gonna talk about bull run? And by the way, before I give up the word that I seized here, bottoms up. I'm almost there. Even the water, bottoms up, David. Cheers to you guys in the chat.
Yeah, now we'll get to that in a minute. One of the things I love about David's takes all the time is he's got a great sense of the pure scammery of the shit coins over the years, and he's got a good understanding from the ICOs to the DeFi's of today. I like to do a little bit of not necessarily revisionist history, but I look back. Everyone makes fun of John McAfee and his $250,000 Bitcoin call, but I look back. But one of the things I will say is how close would he be if it wasn't for the bullshit of a Bitcoin Cash, the Bitcoin SV, of all these. If it wasn't for this, how much time did, as bad as they are, how much time did they gain for people that wanted to dollar cost average in and suppress the price? Because without those, we may have had $250,000 Bitcoin by now.
It's a good point. That really is a good point. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. It's impossible for me. It's impossible to say, no matter what, because it's like it's pure conjecture as to woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I still, I will die on the hill that says the reason that, if you wanted to have a reason why you should not be considering a shitcoin because it's shinier, faster, better, cheaper, more secure than Bitcoin, is that let's say the following happens. Let's say somebody's actually right. Right. Let's say Vitalik's right. And Ethereum's better. It just is, bro. Freaking deal with it. Okay. Okay. So now everybody bails out of Bitcoin, throws in with Ethereum until the next time. This will have been, let's see, Ethereum launched in what year? Was it 2015? I think it was
before my time.
I think it was 2015, right at the beginning of the Ethereum launches. So we're 5 years in, and now Ethereum is better than Bitcoin. So that's our base, 5 years. In 2.5 years, somebody's going to say the same shit and sell the same bullshit about their new X chain versus Ethereum. Yeah. Oh shit. And we got a dump. So now all this ends up being is not a monetary system. It's just a chase the tail and continuously become distracted unless you just settle down and put roots down. Families will not get built, businesses will not get built, economies will not get built, countries will not get built, peace will never have a chance, and we'll always be at war because we're always chasing the frickin' tail. And until people get it through their heads that this is just a dumb idea, then that it's just always going to be that way for some people. Thankfully, I don't have to worry about it. I can't shitcoin anymore. I held Ethereum. I sold it for Bitcoin. I held, let's see, I can't remember. Oh, well, I got rid of Bcash, but I got rid of Bcash before BSV. So I never even got tainted with that crap. But
you got a better price for your Bcash then.
Yeah, it was like 0.2 or 0.1 or something like that. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but I wanted to get rid of that as fast as I possibly could. But now I've got to the point where I'm like, I've got like Litecoin chilling out in a hardware wallet. I'm too lazy to go to Kraken. I don't want to do it. I don't care at this point. It's almost from a personal morality. Okay, my morality or ethics has nothing to do with what anybody else should do. It only is valid for me. But for me, I don't think that I could be any more morally bereft than to sell my Litecoin, because that means somebody's going to buy it.
Yeah, but true. However, if you sell it, you are helping pushing down the price of Litecoin. Let's say it's some idiot trying to pump the backs and feeling like, oh, now is a good time. But I see your point. But I'm afraid to win the war, you're going to have to inflict some casualty on someone else. By you selling it, you are helping depressing the price of the world's biggest pump and dump ever, Litecoin, which was a $1 billion, several $1 billion, I believe, pump and dump. Like Charlie Lee, the fact that he gets a pass or semi-pass in this community is a joke. He's the world's biggest snake oil salesman.
So what's interesting, because everyone's always so fixated on price, they rarely take the time to look at how all these coins are priced in relation to Bitcoin. So when you look at it, I mean, they all look like a ski slope going down from their inception. They start out pretty good, but they are down to nothing. I remember when Charlie, he got out at $372 Litecoin, if you can believe that.
Wow.
That's when
he sold the top.
Yeah, the very tip top, not kind of the top.
Yeah, the top. And I'll tell you what, but that was the
tip
first
top. This is a new a new term coined by David. If you're selling not only the top but the very FOMO peak, you're selling the tip top. I love it.
So that was his final dump out. And at the time, I had owned some Bitcoin, or I'm sorry, some Litecoin. I said, well, fuck me, the writing's on the wall. If the creator of this can do this, I'm looking around. And I found out, wait, Bitcoin doesn't have a creator, or he at least had the damn integrity to leave it to the rest of us. I'm all in on that one. That was part of the reason I switched over. But I remember the other great Charlie Lee was he sold. I know 2 of his Bitcoin Cash. I think he sold them each for like $5,200 a piece. But so people don't realize they see these prices and hear these names. They don't realize how far they've all dropped 70 to 80% in terms of Bitcoin value over the years. But they're still hanging around, and people will still buy them. Unfortunately.
Well, I mean, at one point, there's a question up here that says, is there any other coin that's actually useful? And I take that it says serious question, and I'm going to take it as a serious question. At this point, I don't think so. However, that doesn't mean that something couldn't come along and be useful. But honestly, if it's not going to drag its security from the Bitcoin time chain, and it's going to depend on its own blockchain, then no, absolutely not. Like for instance, it's possible that like, I don't know, let's take Infinite Fleet. Infinite Fleet has an internal token that's the INF token, and it runs on the Liquid sidechain. It somehow or another, because of that relationship with BTC, is going to have some security properties. That doesn't mean that I'm telling anybody to go out and buy INF. Although if you're going to play Infinite Fleet, then I think if you're going to participate in their internal economy, you don't have a choice, which I'm not all that tore up about, because if I go play World of Warcraft, I have to use their in-game currency anyway. It's any game, choose any game with an economy inside that game, and you're going to be using their freaking currency. None of them are secure. But in this particular case, at least INF has a hope in hell of dragging some security from Bitcoin across into that particular game. But that's just in the game world. So in real life, where people are, I don't know, for whatever reason, buying coffees, I brew mine. I don't know what the fascination with buying coffee is, but let's say you're out in retail in the real world and you're buying Christmas presents for your kid. The question becomes, would there possibly be another coin that would be useful? Not unless it's somehow or another connected directly to the actual Bitcoin time chain. If not, then you're just pissing up a rope, because at one point or another, you're like, I love all the bananas on a blockchain. Okay, sure. You put your shipment on the blockchain. Fine, whatever. First of all, how do I know that humans actually loaded the bananas in? And then how do I know that they came out? And how do I really know that they came from this one tree, which was like, hand raised by Sherpas at 4,000 altitude? I don't know, whatever. I can't, because of all that has to be entered manually. It's not endemic to the coin itself or the actual blockchain architecture itself of that particular system. In Bitcoin, all it's saying is like, I will generate these tokens and I will give them to you if you run computers that give me security. It promises nothing else. That's it. That's why I love it so much, is because there's no lights, whistles, and bells. You can do other shit with it, but internally, when it's running, all it's doing is saying, if you're running me, you have a chance to get this coin. And that's it. And everything else is external to that. Whereas bananas on a blockchain, people go, that's a great idea because the bananas are on the blockchain. No, they're not. They're in a shipping container somewhere. And unless you're generating some token of value that I value so much that I will actually help secure your chain, then there's no deal. If it doesn't look something like that, then the answer to the serious question of, is there possible another coin out there, is no. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. That's fine. People disagree with me all the time. And that's a good thing. That would really suck if I was always right. That means that I'm either asleep and dreaming or dead and in heaven or something. So it's okay to disagree, but that's just my
You're in Texas, my friend.
Yeah. So, you know what? One of the things I always ask myself when I hear about these all these other altcoins is, what value proposition are you solving? Number one. Two, is it something that cannot be or will not be ultimately incorporated by Bitcoin on a layer? Do you have something that ultimately will not be just brought in? And I haven't found one altcoin yet that could answer yes. We got something that can never be done on Bitcoin.
Right. And which also takes us right back to what we were talking about originally, where let's say somebody's right and some coin is better and everybody dumps out of Bitcoin to go into that coin. It's not going to take long before that one goes into the trash can, and again and again and again and again and again. And we're right back to where we started. So the smart money really should be on, if I move my mind to not look at me starting a blockchain, but to move my mind to figure out, I have this thing that's really neat and it could do X. And if I could just get it, developed enough to where I can make a working model of it, doing something for, on, with, in concert of Bitcoin, I think that that would be a better way to go. But the problem is that as humans, as primates that haven't really been out of the trees all that long in history's, in the way history works, we're greedy. And that greed is always going to work against our best interest. It's, for lack of a better, that whole, what was it, Wall Street, that scene where he says, for lack of a better term, greed is good, is not entirely wrong. It's that because it's like
it's not at all wrong, in my opinion.
Self-interest is a thing, but when you're greedy to the point that you're like, I'm going to try, my greed is going to cause me to compete against this something that has so much Lindy that there's no freaking way. It's like Mastodon as a Twitter type thing, I think it's actually pretty great. It's too bad so much time was spent by somebody designing it, because I don't think it's going to happen for them. I use it, not in the way that I use Twitter, but it's the same thing. It's like, it's too bad that you didn't try to go get a job at Twitter, infiltrate the company, and then infect everybody with your idea. The whole federated thing would be great for Twitter, but instead of, I'm just going to compete against them, wrong move. That was probably not a good thing to do. Although, I mean, I get the point of, there has to be innovation on the outside, innovation on the edges. Otherwise, we just let people like Jack Dorsey walk all over us because they own everything. But in this particular case, when we're talking about coinage, economics and stuff, this is kind of not where I don't really want all that much competition. I want everything. I want Bitcoin to just literally be a black hole that sucks in not only all people's, countries' fiat dollars, all the wealth, but also all the people and all the ideas, and everybody literally standing on this one thing saying, we got to make a stand at one point or another, because last I looked outside, shit is not going well. And all of that is connected to really shitty money. Pick one.
Yeah. If I may, I want to add a point. So as also an explanation for we end up with only one money. I mean, one thing is Gresham's law. I think it's logic. That totally explains why we will have only one money in the end. But also, so if you're in the mining game and you have energy, you will mine whatever is the most valuable. What gives you the best reward? The coin that has the most value will also have the most valuable mining incentive. So all mining power will end up going towards the most valuable chain. And that means that chain will have higher security because it has a much higher hashing rate, which will make the other coins worth somewhat less. Even if you have something that is, on a protocol level as good as Bitcoin, if it has 2% of the hashing rate, then I prefer to hold Bitcoin because it's more secure. So what you end up with is, because I and others will prefer to hold whatever is the most secure, then that will be more valuable, which means that has more incentive to mine, and it's a positive spiral. So this is another aspect of why it is last coin standing. It is money is, and blockchains are one winner take all. The only reason we see other blockchains right now is because they have, from huge pre-mines of say 70% and above, they have money to spend to convince you with fancy buzzwords that they offer some kind of value, that they solve some kind of problem, but they don't. And Bitcoin will win out at the end, as Michael Saylor says from MicroStrategy. Bitcoin has already won. It's just a matter of the world hasn't understood it yet. So on that note, I just want to say cheers, guys, in the chat.
Cheers. Oh, I'm out. Well, I'll have to get some more later.
No, you know what? You're absolutely right there. And one of the things with Michael Saylor, which I love so much, was his announcement came in. I'm trying to think. The first one, I think, was sort of at the beginning of DeFi, The second buy-in was like at the height of it. But it's not so much how pro Bitcoin he was, but he absolutely crushed any argument that any altcoin would ever have against Bitcoin of why he would never buy them. He basically said, you can go through you can wrap your head around this Bitcoin dominance metric where now we've got goddamn 7,500 shit coins listed, and you divide that by number of Bitcoin and they come up with this dominance thing. But he came to realize, yes, I found something in the $100-200 billion dominant range, and literally it has a 98% advantage over every other altcoin on an individual basis. And it was such a unique way to look at it. But he absolutely decimated any altcoin crowd to the point where I remember my feed was, it was full of just Link Marines, this, sushi, that bullshit, Ethereum. Dude, it was crickets. It's been crickets for 3 months now, man. He absolutely decimated any conversation because after him, Square comes in with 50 million. All these companies, they go all in on Bitcoin. I've not heard one company go all in on anything else.
No, and there probably will be one. It'll be fake. I mean, not fake, but it'll be small, and they'll make themselves look like they're much larger than they actually are. And then it'll end up being that, Roger Ver or Craig Wright or somebody like that talked him into doing it. And then somebody will actually go pull the filings from the FCC or the SEC and say, when you say this is $1 billion company, what you mean to say is that over the span of 50 years, they've made $10,000 a year. It's not $1 billion company. All right. It's like this really podunk mom and pop thing. But going back to what you're saying about DeFi and Michael Saylor, he had it right, because I've alluded to this 3 times now. I'll read the this is a CoinDesk article, so no allergic reactions, but you've been forewarned. Buggy code in this compound finance fork just froze $1 million in Ethereum tokens. Okay, compound finance is a fork of what was it? Hold on, it's on the tip of my tongue.
What are you looking for that?
It's okay. It's Percent Finance is a fork of compound finance. When they forked compound finance, they took a lot of the old compound finance stuff, like a lot of the old contracts, and apparently a total of 446,000 USDC, so that's roughly around $500,000, 28 wrapped BTC, and 313 Ethereum are now burned to the point that they're going to the miners to beg the miners to somehow or another roll this son of a bitch back. And I'm like, here we go. That's not immutability. This is not the security you're looking for, because it's like, it's all like, it's the same shit that we're always told about. Like, it's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Of course, I don't want these people to lose their money. I don't want them to lose their money, but I'm not exactly shedding tears about it either. It's not like you weren't warned. But we warn people, and we get pointed at, and we're made fun of, and we're laughed at, and we just keep, trugging on through, and we're always right, because at one point or another, this shit always happens. And but at this point, it looks like a DAO thing where they want to roll back the chain. When CZ was suggesting that crap, sometime was it like last Christmas? Binance was it CZ from Binance? Yeah, Binance gets hacked. And he starts floating the idea and floated it out in public about the possibility of getting the miners to roll back the chain.
I remember that.
2 things happened. First of all, by the time it even hit our ears that he had mentioned that shit, much less the conversations he actually had to go into with the miners, by the time it was all said and done, we were like 37 blocks in. Have any idea the thermodynamic load that you're going to have to deploy to roll back 37 freaking blocks of the Bitcoin blockchain? It's ridiculous. And the fact that he even floated it as an idea on Bitcoin. But here in Ethereum world, and any other in DeFi and Ethereum and any kind of shit chain that the thermodynamic load would not be that much to roll back 37 blocks. All of a sudden, these people, it's okay to talk to the miners about getting these good people their coin back. I'm sorry, you lost. You win nothing, sir.
Is that who was the one yesterday? Someone that fat fingered in their ETH amount, and now they're waiting on the good nature of the person they sent it to get it back.
It was the miners. The person that he sent it to is the miners because he fat fingered the mining fee. So that one directly goes to the miners. Well, that same group of miners, I want to say this has something to do with. No, I'm sorry. Sorry, I was thinking of something else. I can't remember the name of the mining pool that's involved, but they had gone through this before. And they sat on a transaction that was fat fingered for 4 days. And then they made it known that they were like, you know what? No, I'm sorry for you. We're putting the money in our pocket. And the last part of that public announcement was, going forward, we are not going to make any considerations of this type. That guy's lost. His fat finger, his $9,200 in Ethereum is gone, as per what they said 3 weeks ago. It just keeps happening and happening and happening. And we pointed out, and Link Marines come down on us and say we're all toxic. And I'm like, it's not toxicity. This is just like, I'd tell my children not to walk across a busy street. That's not me being toxic. I don't want to see him die.
That is what I say in the introduction. We are toxic towards scams that delay the adoption of sound money. Any scams out there on any scammy blockchain is hurting humanity. Bitcoin is good for humanity. We need one money. We need a sound money. There can be only one money. Yes, we are toxic. We are toxic towards attempts to fool people and steal their money. Of course we are. We're here to protect the people that haven't done the research yet. And also, I just want to say that Plan Marcus really has the best tweet, or not tweet, but chat message in the chat today. Because, hey, look, a balloon, he found the balloon. So shout out to Plan Marcus, he found the balloon. There you go.
So I wanted to run the numbers, of course. I always do this once in a while for Michael Saylor, who has now turned his $425 million, which is now sitting at a nice $588 million.
Man, that's
$160 million, $3 million made.
Freaking Chad, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, well, look, we need more Texans in Bitcoin. I think we need more Texans to not take crap from.
There's got to be more
shitcoiners.
Oh, there is, dude. Unchained Capital's a Texas company. They're all down here.
Okay.
Yeah, Pierre Rochard's down here. His wife is
I know
down
Pierre.
here. Oh God, who else is down here?
So where should I, if I'm moving to Texas, what is the right city? What's the good city where you don't have this lack of toxicity? Where do you have good?
Fort Worth. If my advice is, don't ever live inside any city. Live either on what's called the urban rural fringe, which is like, far enough outside the city that you can like scoop up like 3 acres with a house on it that still has a paved road in front of it, has electricity, as part of the grid. You might want to get a generator or something like that. But I'm just saying that
get some solar and a battery.
Yeah, being inside any city proper of anything over 50,000 people is not for me. I can't do it any longer because of all the freaking Karens. So I like being in a town that's like, I do live in a city that's definitely sub 20,000. And yeah, it's a shock, man. There's not a whole lot of shit to do. But I like it because I don't have to deal with all the Karens. I don't need to go to the movie. I don't need a Starbucks every 15 feet. And I don't need any of the shit that I thought I needed. And all the people that are telling me like, wow, I can't believe you moved out there. It must suck. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't suck. It's actually really nice. So so you could do that on the edge of Austin. You could do that on the edge of Houston, on the edge of Dallas. I would, but I mean, if you wanted to live in any one city that is of any proper size, I'd look at Fort Worth because the people out there are kind of, if you go to Dallas, it's a completely different kind of person, completely different. Fort Worth is a little bit more rough and dusty, but if you want to move out in the sticks, you know, there's any number of cities in Texas that are all under like 20,000, you know, 50,000 people. And there's a lot of good ones. There's some shitty ones too, like Vidor, Texas. I don't know if you've heard about that place, but
Tell us.
oh, Vidor, Texas. Oh God. Okay. The Coffee Cup Cafe, and it's spelled with all K's. That's on Main Street. That's on Main Street.
It's right next to Country Kitchen, also all K's.
It's just, you know, they've made the news a couple of times about just how openly racist. And I mean, it's like, and I don't like the whole racist thing is like, you're automatically a Nazi if you don't agree with me. That's bullshit.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Stop that. That's not doing anybody any good. But then there are like obviously overt racist shit, and Vidor, Texas is one of them.
Right. Yeah. So it won't be good. John M has a question for me if I'll ever move home to Denmark. I don't think so. I love Denmark. You know, when I visit Denmark, it is, I enjoy it even more because I'm not there on a regular basis. Or, well, I'm not living there, so I enjoy it even more. You know, if there's something really good in your life and you only get it sometimes, you just, so I love when I go to Denmark and being in Denmark, seeing family and friends. I don't think I'll move there. It's just, you know, the reason I left Denmark was capital gains of 60%. So in 2005, you know, I think they might have reduced it, but sorry, man, you lost me at 60%.
Hey.
The reason I left Denmark in 2005 was a capital gains of 60%. I just started on anything less than 3 years. I just started buying Google call options when they finally went on IPO in 2005. And, you know, it was working out well. And I didn't want to hand over 60% to the rest of the people or the government, you know, the rest of the population in Denmark. When I took the risk, it was my money. And so, and I mean, it might have improved a little bit, but yeah, 6-0, not 1-6, 6-0. So, but I love it. I go there. Unfortunately, now it's been 2 years. I was meant to go in March, then this COVID crap happened. Now I was meant to go in November, but now they're starting to, you know, do even more conservative stuff. I want to go when I can just chill and relax in Denmark, not be. No, unfortunately, I don't hang out with Lars Ulrich. He's a great drummer, and he is from Denmark. And I believe the founder of Metallica. You know, when I was 6-7 years and entered school in Denmark for the first time, someone had tagged AC/DC and Metallica somewhere inside the school. That's 40 years ago, and they're still going strong. Puppy, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't believe you're beating down your own country. You know, according to Bernie Sanders.
I love Denmark. I love Denmark.
No. It's a utopia. You don't. What do you mean taxes? You don't pay taxes there. Everything is free. Everything is free. I don't know why.
Everything is free because you pay a lot of taxes. That's my point. So let me say that when I lived in Denmark, I didn't understand this thing that was saying that you know, it's probably the happiest nation in the world. I'm like, you know, why? But moving to Dubai, later on moving to America, I get it. I see now why they are the happiest people in the world, like officially all close to. You don't have worries really when you live in Denmark. You have, you know, the freeways, the roads, the infrastructure make you know, Los Angeles seem like you know, a third world country. Honestly, like the freeways here is like the airport. It's just great infrastructure. School is great. It's free. University is free, and you get $700-800 from the government when you study at university. So we have a high level of education, which is great for, you know, knowledge-based companies. So yeah, I go there, enjoy it in pieces, but I do like to live somewhere where tax is not too much of a problem. I maybe ranted on a little bit there.
No, you're fine.
Right.
Hey, this is the first you've gone in a show, man. Before you've asked a guest about hyper Bitcoinization.
You're right.
Yeah, man.
Why don't you two just, can you guys keep it, which I know the answer is yes and yes. If you can keep it going for like 60 seconds, I want to stock up on my drink before we start talking about hyper Bitcoinization, because we absolutely have to talk about when death of fiat, when global Bitcoin standard. Give me just 2 seconds. I need some ice cubes for this Woodford Reserve from Kentucky.
No, you got it.
Oh, good mercy! He's putting ice cubes in whiskey. Oh,
that's solid Texan right there. I need my whiskey warm, and I like warm whiskey.
Wait, okay. No, man, you get 2 or 3 fingers neat. That's it.
Yeah, the way that I do it now is just a sidecar. You know, just like the nice old fashioned glass.
Yeah,
drop it in there and just drink the shit out of it, because it's like everything. Like I tried it with ice, and I'm like, every time I drank it, it's like different. It was like, it was like, oh, who said it best? A $500 million melting ice cube is changing the flavor every time I drink it, and I'm like, this is pissing me off, man. That's like, I need some uniformity. I need something that's gonna, like, you know, be the same over and over and over again.
So, you know, it's funny. I have a boss. Prior military background, but he gave me this great gift. So he gives me this collection. I opened it up, and it's these 5 silver bullets inside, and a pair of tongs. But basically, you put them in, you freeze them, and you put these bullets in your whiskey.
There you go.
Okay,
there you go.
Oh yeah, that's one idea.
Yeah.
The other one, I was in Belgrade, Serbia, and we're staying at this really cool hotel. But they had, you ever see the ice press that you put a bunch of ice in it and it makes a nice little sphere about the size of let's say a small tennis ball. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You've seen that, because what that does is it
wait for it.
Yep.
Could you hear it?
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
No, but the sphere, it has a lower surface area, so it won't melt as fast for you. And
I have heard that.
So what's funny is our group goes down there each day, and you know, guys are getting singles. Turns in from a single, they go into a double. Now, when you put a double shot in a glass, the little ball comes off the bottom of the glass. So whenever we wanted a double, we would just say float the ball. So, but of course, after a few drinks, guys are getting out of hand, and then they want a triple, and that ball is floating on top, and we called that the snow cone.
The tip top. It's on the tip top.
It's on the tip top.
Pablo, you don't know what a snow cone is.
Oh, you don't know what a snow cone is?
Well, I didn't know that version of a snow cone. The other one, I can't say it live. I haven't been there. I just know what it is.
Yeah, low ball with the ice cube in there, and when you put a triple drink in there, that ball is floating over the top for sure.
Nice. All right, so I'm back.
Yeah.
I've got my drink ready. It's of course 100% pure Coke. I've been just tricking you guys the whole time. Haven't touched the alcohol. But cheers to you guys in the chat. Cheers, David, PUBLORD. So, so 2 questions minimum. David, do you feel we are in a bull run? If yes, how long do you feel it will? Like, how far are we gonna get price wise? What is the timing you expect? Do you expect another a correction bear market like we had in 2018? Do you have any thoughts of hyper Bitcoinization? So that was probably 4 questions. But no, David, I'd love to hear.
But I see what you're going. I see what you're going for there.
Timestamp it.
You know, price, and like me calling out a price, honestly, is absolutely freaking stupid, because I'm not an analyst. And if I was, I probably wouldn't be very good at it. And I mean, I've seen somebody like, I've watched when I first started getting in, I was watching pretty solid World Crypto. I think it was World Crypto Network with Thomas Hunt, Tone Vase, Vortex, those guys, and like Tone has been horrendously wrong on several occasions. And this is how he makes his money. If he's still making money and he can be this wrong this many times, I got no business whatsoever saying what the price is going to be. I'm looking at the chart right now and just gut feels. I mean, I got a small sell off from, let's see, this last hour candle started at 15,438 and it went all the way down to 15,180. So we almost pierced back through the $1,500 floor with this kind of, and it's just going back and forth. Honestly, I expect sideways for at least a couple of days, and we'll see. The only thing that I can say is that we'll see what the hell happens after that.
Yeah,
but I
think. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just like, but the fact that it's trying, that it was kind of like, angrily poking at the $1,500 floor kind of makes me think that there's somebody who wants cheaper sats. And I don't think, like, at this point, I've gotten to the point now where I look at these dumps and I'm like, I don't think they're trying to kill Bitcoin. I think they're like going, shit, we screwed up. We shouldn't have been here this fast. I cannot buy any more sats. I have no more dry powder unless I can deploy some of my Bitcoin to pull it down farther enough so that I can sell a guitar or something and be able to use the fiat to dump into Bitcoin. I used to think of it as bears were trying to kill it. And I'm like, no, I don't. At this point, I'm like, I think they're just trying to maneuver for cheaper sats, which means it's like automatically people are going to go, oh, well, see, you proved it. It's manipulable. Oh, all of it's manipulable. Gold has been manipulated. Silver's manipulated. Tesla stock is manipulated. Tell me one thing that's not manipulated. Just to what extent can it be manipulated is the problem. So
can I just say,
yeah,
I just want to add, and then we'll go back to, I want to hear your, okay, so I want to get back to you, but I managed to, I didn't have any Tesla stock myself, but I do have run some management portfolios for some family members, and I feel I'm not 100% responsible if I'm 100% in Bitcoin for them. So, just in case. But I managed to sell 80% of their Tesla exactly on the day it topped. It was beautiful. Nice. It was poetry. And actually, to be honest, don't ignore events coming up that people believe will be bullish as the day of the peak. People will then wait to sell and then cash in on the news. That's why we have the old buy the rumor, sell the news. December 7th, the 17th of December, 2017, the very peak was the day that CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, launched their Bitcoin futures. That was the top. So and the top of Tesla was the day that they did the stock split. Don't underestimate events like these as the potential top. But so back to you in terms of your expectations for, you consider us in a bull run, right?
I think that's pretty evident. I mean, it depends on how scathingly like the 26 or into 2016, 2017 run up. If it looks like that was, I mean, that's like even beyond a bull run. That's like just this mind blowing thing that you can't wrap your head around. If we get that again, then I would be saying that we're not even in a bull run. Then we're in this uncharted territory. But right now, I can't look at it as not a bull run. Although there were people, I think it was like, I'm actually looking at the chart right now. I want to go back in time because there was a time when I was like, meh, no, not really. And I want to say it was going to be around I was probably still an old fuddy-duddy right around the 1st of October, the first part of October. And people were saying, hey, man, it's bull run. And I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see it. And then we started, looks like the run up started on October the 8th. So on October the 8th, we started, I started saying, you know what, after these, 8th, 9th, and 10th, and then we get into the span between, the 16th and October the 22nd. It was definitely right there that I'm like, yeah, I can't deny it anymore. This is definitely going north. So yeah.
It's going north. How north will it go?
That
David?
one I have no idea. I mean, if all I can really depend on is fractal geometry, and saying if we repeat the pattern of 20,000 as a top and everything holds together, then you're looking at $80,000, $100,000 Bitcoin. But I like I said, I am the furthest person from the person you should be listening to that has anything to say about the price of Bitcoin. Please don't listen to me.
I absolutely, totally respect that. PUBLORD, I know you want to jump in. I just want to say, I agree with David that technical analysis short term is really difficult. I think technical analysis is absolutely relevant when you're dealing with fairly boring assets that don't have a halving event. The thing is, in Bitcoin, there is a halving event.
Yeah.
The halving event overrules everything else. Short-term Bitcoin is difficult. Medium-term, it's a piece of cake. And long-term is also a piece of cake. Long-term is infinity, basically. You study money, study Bitcoin, you understand that Bitcoin is money. You also understand it's the best money the world has ever seen, and therefore it will take over. So infinity, it's really easy. And medium term, we have the halving cycle that we can't deny, and history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. To understand why the previous bull runs have been different, we can look at stock to flow. And the fact that stock to flow, there is a link down below as well in stock to flow on planbdc.com. The stock to flow accelerates, but it doesn't accelerate as fast as in the beginning. And that's why the bull run, the last two bull runs after halvings have gone from 12 months to 18 months. And the overshoot to the upside has been a little bit less because the acceleration is not as strong as previously, which leads me to say that I believe the top will be north of 200,000. Not necessarily the end of 2021. It could go into Q1 2022. I agree. Technical analysis short term, I don't have a clue because anything could happen. But medium term, I feel is pretty easy. I may be wrong, but
I'm always appreciative of people who will, tell me, yeah, dude, you got nothing to worry about. $1 million a coin. I'm like, I take that and I always put it in my back pocket because I don't know. I mean, it'd be freaking awesome if it did. Hell yeah, it'd be awesome. It's like, would I be pissed? No, that'd be dumb. But I'm also like, I've just grown up being cautious. Well, actually, I take that back. I've grown up being fucking reckless is what I've grown up being. But as far as, getting your hopes up or betting the farm on it, no, I can't. And the only reason that I can't is that, again, it goes back to, your not sense of self, sort of like going back to that whole discussion we had about greed, so your own self-interest, making sure that you're safe. There's always a hedge somewhere. There's always a hedge. It doesn't matter the systems involved. There's a hedge somewhere for that system. Although I am becoming increasingly more and more annoyed at the fiat world, which is one of the reasons why I'm becoming more and more annoyed at looking at the price of Bitcoin in fiat. I think there's something else. Personally, I think there's something else here. I think this is the first time that we're looking at something that is money and something else. It's money and something else. And I don't know what that something else is, but I got a gut feeling that we're looking at something that's more than money, that it's more than economy. It's more than a savings plan. It's more than a store of value, or its identifiability, or its divisibility, or its, you know, hardness. I think it's more, but I don't know what that more is yet. But I got a gut feeling that we're looking at something very, very different than what we think it actually is. And I wish I could be like more specific as to what that is, but shit, I don't know. Nobody's ever seen this before.
Well, I'll give you my best possible suggestion of an answer. Yes, it is more than money, because this type of money being deflationary instead of inflationary, because it's capped 100%. It will change culture. It will change a spending culture. It will change humanity. The difference of having a good money, which Bitcoin is, and a bad money, which is not even money, fiat currency, is going to change the way we consume, the way we save. And it's going to remove a lot of the wealth divide, which is artificially created by a central bank making the interest rate zero, which is killing savings of the people that don't have much and inflating assets of the people that have much.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a massive cultural change, and the world will be a substantial better place once we have Bitcoin as money. PubLord, I feel I haven't heard you for a while. What's your take? What's your ideas? What's your questions? Please share.
Yeah, I would have talked earlier, but you were talking. I
know.
No. When it comes down to it, I was laughing earlier, Dave. I said, I don't, price could be going sideways for the next couple of days. I said, a couple of days. I was looking at, within a month, Bitcoin's up 42% because we have the shortest memories in Bitcoin. We really do.
Yeah.
The price could quote unquote crash to 13,000, and people forget we started the month at 10,500. Okay.
We did?
So
we did?
Yeah, that's the point, man. Yeah. That's the last month. Up 42%. The missing part, and I think about this often too, as David mentioned, what is that? What is that factor that Bitcoin has that we just can't quite identify? And I equate it as, the guys from WTF 1971, what the fuck happened? We have a whole generation that were raised in a fiat culture with no standard at all, removed from a gold standard. We live and swim in fiat. There was that. Was it the? Was that European?
Quicksand.
Yeah, but there's a European commercial that simplifies it. The girl talking about the chairs. Hey, this year you go and buy a chair and it's $100.
Oh, that thing. Oh God, that's what pissed off the so bad.
Listen. So this year you went and you tried to buy a chair. It's $100. Next year you went back. It's $110. Prices went up. No, that's it. Prices went up. That's inflation. That's literally what it.
Great. Thank you for ruining my savings here.
But
European Central Bank.
No, but my point is this. That's how they simplify it to people. That's inflation. Prices just go up like it's this organic fucking thing. Guess what? Every year, prices just go up. It's amazing, isn't it? I'll tell you what Bitcoin is, man. Bitcoin
is number go up.
It's not only number. Listen, Bitcoin is truth, man. We talk about trying to roll back blocks and all that. Listen, what we can't handle sometimes in the world is the unmitigated truth. Things like death. Things like the unpopular things you don't want to talk about. Things like losing your private keys. Guess what? Bitcoin is the first time we've come across something of value that even the government can't fuck with. And we're not used to it. Our minds aren't yet wrapped around the fact that you've got a value here that no one can mess with. And it's when it acts against what we think it should react like, we don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, like I said, nobody has ever seen anything like this I would say ever, but I don't know, maybe something like this happened like 1,000 years ago, but I don't think so. But certainly in modern memory, in the last, let's say 10 generations, no. And what I keep, forgetting about is the importance of one generation. Like, oh, well, it's 3 generations away. And I'm like going, yeah, but you're forgetting about the law of compounding interest. The first generation, that first generation was there, and it said, I feel this, I don't know, whatever was going on at the time, culturally. I'm not even talking about monetary compounding. I'm not talking about interest. I'm talking to people going through shit, then having kids and raising their kids. That means that the shit rolls downhill and it multiplies in speed. So whatever the parents of that first starting generation, they impinged all that on their kids, who then added to that mess with the shit that they saw. And then they raised kids. So all of their parents' crap and their crap gets shoved off on their kids. And shit just continues to roll downhill until it picks up so freaking much steam that it doesn't matter what the ball of snow is made out of. It's going to wreck everything when it comes to a standstill. And that's where I think we're at. I think we are hitting a wall. And so we've got 50 generations who have been fucked in the ass since they were born. And starting with that generation, teaching the next generation and teaching the next generation. And the world got worse, and the world got worse until now. Peter McCormick has a bitch fest about modern art and how other people don't like it. And I'm like, you're talking about your modern art you're talking about Picasso and shit, which is considered modern art. What we're talking about is somebody who puts a cross of Jesus Christ on a crucifix in a jar and pisses on it and calls it fucking art. That's modern art, as far as I'm concerned, and it's worth jack shit, because we've got to the point now where we've taken everything that means anything away and flushed it squarely down the toilet because it's worth as much as the money that was used to buy it. I'll give you another example. Freaking McDonald's Happy Meals. Okay, this is like, I remember when I was a kid, Happy Meals came out, and it was like, oh, the toy. And I was like, I was all about the toy. My kids are the same age I was, they're same age now that I was back then. And you know how many unopened toys from their Happy Meal when they get one that I've got strewn around the house? And it's not because they're wasteful. They're not interested in what's in that fucking bag. They got better fish to fry. Finally, after generations, but it's become the waste has become so ridiculous that we just throw it in the box because it's a Happy Meal. And hell, we've always done that. We don't really care what we throw in the box, because now, the toys are like, it's just a movie promotion, one after another, after another, after another, and nothing means anything because it was all bought with the money that means nothing for generations.
Yes.
So, David, do you believe that Bitcoin will take over as the one money of the world, or do you see a multi-dirt coin world?
I think it's going to probably not be a multi-dirt coin world. It's going to be a multiplicity, I think. Okay. I think that smart money is going to head to Bitcoin, and it's probably going to be the world's financial reserve. And what I mean by financial reserve is I was watching, I ran across a documentary. I've been a documentary hound about stuff like finance for like a year now. I cannot get enough, especially financial disaster movies. Please, for the love of God, show me your financial disaster movies. I love them to death. But this one was called
in the chat. If you know a financial disaster movie,
and not
the chat.
Not the normal ones either. Like Big Short, I watch it every chance I get. Like the unknown stuff, maybe like older stuff. But there's a documentary called "The Men Who Built America." It talked about Vanderbilt, Ford, Carnegie, Rockefeller, and those guys, and what they were doing and how they thought and how they were involved in politics and the whole business. And it's a great series. If you haven't seen it, watch it twice. In either event, these guys, the makers of the documentary, at the very end, close to the end, it was the one guy said that because we could the United States, by the time they ended the series, the United States was, I think, was just entering World War One. And they're going to do another series probably after World War One. So we're talking about World War One, and at this point in time, America is already showing itself to be potentially be the greatest superpower ever, because we can outproduce any other country on the face of the planet. Britain.
That's how the North won the South over the South.
Well, that
production capacity.
They were also putting every Irish immigrant male into a union uniform and shipping them off, telling them that if they don't, that they're going to put back on the boat and they're going the fuck back to Ireland. So I
never heard that story.
Yeah, that's buried way down deep, man. That was what was going on. They were like, the Irish were a lot of Irish were starting to immigrate into America at the time the Civil War was going on. So as they would come off the ship, the only port of entry to the United States was through New York Harbor. So the Union got to them first. I'm not saying that the Confederacy should have won. That's not the fucking point. But what I'm saying is that they had men as a product coming in, or as an import, and they were immediately stuffing them into anything that they could to swing the war to the North's way.
Well, imagine you have guests arriving in your home and you give them the gift of a uniform.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm like. I never understood it either. I was like going, why did you just tell them to piss off? And then I realized the Irish coming in, they don't know the ways. They don't know that was wrong. They were like going, I'm just glad to be out. I'm just glad that there's a bowl of soup. But you're talking about the potato famine.
I was going to say, they're coming out of it. They're happy to have something to eat, dude. You want me to? I'll walk 3,000 miles and shoot whatever you want. Give me something to eat.
And and again, don't get me wrong. I don't think the Confederacy should have won the war, because I mean, come on. I mean, it's like there's bad shit happening on both sides, North and South.
Yeah.
Slavery is never good, but neither is enslaving like your populace to pay you taxes and tribute forever and a day and never give them any break. But
everyone's enslaved today in the fiat currency system. That is slavery.
But see, what I was saying though was that at the end of this series, this guy says that we were going to be into a position where we would be the greatest nation on the planet because we could outproduce any other nation on the planet. And now I was like, if we replace just a couple of words, it's going to sound like this: Bitcoiners will outfinance any nation on the planet. Bitcoiners will find themselves in a position to be the next wave of financiers, and most of the Bitcoiners that I know are some of the most solidly moral people that I've ever seen in my entire life. They give a shit about art. They care about architecture. They understand what we've lost. And if you get those guys behind the power to finance around the world, and literally having the moral, fortitude not to interfere in another country, they have a real good shot at building a world that means something again. That like people can do what they want again, and they can be their own country, like being able to be a Denmarkian again, or being a Texan and saying, I'm a Texan first and a United States citizen second. That's in my mind. And I should be able to live in a world where people go, you know what? Hey, I'm good with that. But now it's like, I will get shit. I will get shit in Texas if I say that. That I'm like, well, you're not an American first. I'm like, well, what do you think America is? It's like, well, you talk a lot bad about the federal government. Were you one of them commies? And I'm like, you don't get this at all, do you?
No, that's the opposite, man.
Yeah, I was like going, it's not America is not the federal government. America is the people. It's history, the things that we've done, good and bad. But it certainly isn't the fact that I went out and voted for one of two potentially senile, potential rapists. I mean, both of them rape. I mean, this is my choice.
Yeah.
And because I don't like that, all of a sudden I'm not an American. This is bullshit. And I'm like, it's just a fiat way of thinking.
Well, you got to remind them, listen, remember, this is a country founded upon the fact that we didn't like our federal government. It was a monarchy, but we didn't like it. Yeah. Where do you think we came from? We didn't like the government.
I know, and I have to remind people in Meat Space of that argument when I start talking like this, and they're like going, "Man, you need to quiet down." Like, oh God, no, I don't. I need more people to start yelling at the top of their lungs. It's like this. This shit can't continue. It just can't.
No.
I agree. BTC Moon guy, see you later. He's got a bail number go up technology. Unbelievable by how this guy has been on every single toxic happy hour in the chat. Unbelievable.
I like that guy. I like his avatar on Twitter a lot.
Yeah. So, and from John M, awesome guest after awesome guest on the Toxic Happy Hour. That is a credit to you, David.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I do appreciate that greatly.
But absolutely. So, PUBLORD and I, we bring the great guests so we can just, sit back and ask a couple of questions and end up having a good show. Because we got the best guests.
I was going to say, what I love sometimes is you have no idea where it's going to go, man. I learned more about Texas today than I ever had before. Where you want to live in Texas?
I know that I want to get an American Ford Mustang convertible drive down to Fort Worth. What's it called?
Fort Worth. It's
yeah.
just east of Dallas. It's part of the Metroplex. So it's like part of a massive city, but it's its own thing.
Dallas, Fort Worth.
I do have this metropolitan thing that I do like sushi. Can you get that in Texas?
Oh shit, yeah, man, dude. There is no end. I can get good sushi in Amarillo. I can't find a good burrito. I don't know why, but I sure as shit can find some damn sushi, and it's good. In fact, there's a place that we go to all the time in Colorado. Is one of the best sushi restaurants I've ever eaten at, and it's totally landlocked. Colorado has like no hope of getting any fresh fish, so they got to ship it in, and somehow or another,
they fly it in.
They definitely fly the living shit out of whatever it is they're getting, because that restaurant is stupendous. But Dallas, dude, go down. If for whatever reason you find yourself in the Metroplex, find where Deep Ellum is. It's like a little kitsy place of Dallas with nightclubs and restaurants, and go find Deep Sushi. You'll thank me later. Have it with a dark Japanese beer. It's freaking fabulous.
Maybe Asahi. What are we talking?
Yeah. Do what?
Well, you're saying a deep black Japanese beer. We're talking Asahi, Sapporo. What are we talking?
I can't remember which one it was that they had. It's very rare to find an actual dark Japanese beer in a sushi restaurant. However, was it? I think it was one of the beers that I always thought was Japanese. It's Vietnamese. They make a fabulous dark
Tiger.
Beer, by the way.
Is that
no?
Tiger?
It's not Tiger. It's something that like I would say something like that, where you would normally think it was a Japanese beer, and it's got like a well-known name. And then I was looking at the label one day, and I'm like, this is made in Vietnam. It's still good though. It's an awesome beer. It's just I can't remember what the name of it is. But I discovered that having like a good dark beer with sushi, I don't know, man. There is something about that that's was surprisingly delicious. So
I totally dig that. PUBLORD, I'm going to give the word to you, but I just want to say also unfiltered sake, nice and warm, room temperature.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Couple of bottles of that with your sushi, you're good. PUBLORD, over to you.
Yeah, you're right. It's hard to find a dark beer. Of course, Sapporo is a popular one, but I like. There's a beer called Kirin Ichiban, which I enjoy.
Yeah, Kirin is
connoisseur right there.
Yeah, Kirin Ichiban goes quite well with sushi. But you're right, with Kirin Ichiban and a sake as well, you got to have options. You can't go wrong.
Yeah,
beer before liquor, you never got sicker.
That's what they tell me.
For a second. It is in fact it's Sapporo. It's a Japanese beer, but it's brewed in Vietnam. Apparently Sapporo completed their Vietnam plant in I can't find a date, but it's been there for a while. But yeah, so it's actually a Japanese descent, but just brewed in Vietnam.
In Vietnam.
PopLord, we've now managed to keep David Bennett trapped for almost 2 hours. We're getting close to like a top 5 here of time-wise.
I'm actually going to have to crush our hopes of having be the longest one, because at 3:12, no matter what happens, I got to drop everything and get in the car. Otherwise, my kid's going to be hanging out by himself.
No worries.
I have no expectations of anyone beating Daniel Prince's 3 hours, 22 minutes.
Wow, man, dude. Okay. Yeah, that'll do it.
Great episode. I don't know what we talked about, but it was
great. We were like getting back into hyper Bitcoinization. I think that we're going to end up with Bitcoin pretty much as the central clearing layer for pretty much everybody eventually. But there will but I also think that there's going to be, we could probably start looking at not other coins, but just, okay, I'm thinking of layers. I remember there was actually a lot of Bitcoiners themselves, hardcore guys who were not exactly happy about Lightning Layer. And they were saying stuff like, it's just Lightning coin. And like, no.
Were they called Roger Ver?
No, we're talking like some of the good guys. I won't mention any names, but I think most of them actually come around. Roger Ver did say that, but he wasn't saying it because he was, well, we won't get into that. I'm just saying that, like, whereas we're kind of toxic to scam coins, ICOs, DeFi and all that kind of stuff. I can think of it in a way where second layer, third layer, fourth layer, and fifth layers will take the place of what all these people say that we need for, to either be better than Bitcoin or to help Bitcoin out. I don't think we need any of that shit. Because like right now, Lightning Pool, have y'all heard about Lightning Pool?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the new thing where you can provide liquidity, means you deposit some Bitcoin.
I can auction
paid for that liquidity.
I can open a Lightning channel. Yeah, I can open a Lightning channel on my node on my Raspberry Pi, and I can put that up for auction on Lightning Pool. And somebody can literally purchase not the coins, the liquidity. They can rent my. So the great thing is that as I open a channel with Lightning Pool, they delay that opening until they have enough openings so they can batch them all together. So now we've opened, let's say instead of opening one channel for a fee of $8, we open 100 channels for the same fee of $8. Now I got 100 channels of liquidity open. And then all of a sudden we end up with a situation where we're starting to outstrip that liquidity in the Lightning Network. Now more and more merchants start coming online. Now all of a sudden you got restaurants who will, I think we need to have more merchants, more merchant adoption. We've been screaming this forever. So, whenever it'll change, it'll finally change. But eventually it will, to the point where, oh my God, see, I told you guys, Lightning will never work. It's stripped out we can't provide enough liquidity. Fine, time for layer 3 that sits on top of Lightning. So now I'm doing the exact same thing, except instead of opening channels on the main chain, I'm opening somehow or another, siphoning off liquidity that was made available through an auction house into a layer 3. And now that
is literally next level. Literally.
Yeah. See, it's just repeating, like we're talking about the fractal nature, or like the fractal modeling in charting. And I was saying that if this holds, and I look back at what happened at 20,000 and I take that fractal and I transpose it on now, we get 100,000. This is sort of the same thing. It's like literally a mini, like almost looking at like a mini Lightning, so that now Lightning is actually, like, you could look at it as, I don't want to say this because it's going to piss a lot of people off, but you can look at it as a functional Ethereum. A functional Ethereum. There's a difference. Yeah. Not a Rube Goldberg bullshit machine, but an actual dyed-in-the-wool, God's honest, provides me utility machine, and then copy that and put it on top of itself in a smaller fashion. And then you just keep on going from there. So at that point, now we've got Lightning on one side as a side chain. Now we've got liquid as a side chain, whatever it is you need Bitcoin to be, then you need to build that to where it hooks up either on layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5, 6, or layer 7. However many layer deep we get. If you need something to, if you need Bitcoin to do something for you that it does not do, then fucking build it and hook it to one of the layers. And don't bitch to me, and don't go split the chain and go cry off in a huff and then allow people like Craig Wright to come in because he fooled your ass, and then 4 months later ends up already getting in a fight with your ass and then splitting your chain. This is ridiculous. It's just,
Amen.
Have some, have some intestinal fortitude to go into the future and into the darkness and be light instead of
David,
just wanting to get rich.
I'm interested in this money market by providing liquidity to Lightning Network. What's the kind of rate that you get as return on the money deposit? The money market is expensive. It's interesting.
That's the beauty. I don't know. That's the great thing, because this thing just started up. The market will decide the yield. And the only way the market will be able to decide the yield is to be alive long enough to have enough moving average to determine a yield curve. That yield curve will then actually end up being added to as time goes on. But for a while, or until a while occurs, we won't have enough data to really make a good yield curve. And once we get that, though, we'll be able to use it as a template saying, if you're going to provide 100,000, Satoshi liquidity channel, then your yield's going to be this, because the market in the past has always paid this price, or at least for the last 200 days. So as the organic nature of all this stuff starts bubbling up to the top, it will inform us of what we need to know when we need to know it. Nothing about Bitcoin has ever been out of the box for me. Ever. And I don't ever expect anything coming in the future to be out of the box. It's always going to be something going on where it just bubbles to the top and you go, oh shit, why wasn't that there the whole time? And with the way that they're doing the lightning pools, it's just going to get better and better and better, but it's not going to be all at once. Hyper Bitcoinization could happen 10 years from now. It could happen 100 years after I die. I don't know.
No. It's going to happen this decade. Yeah. It's a given. I'll personally guarantee it, and it is financial advice.
And that's good. That's a good place for me to let you go on a very happy and positive note. I do, sadly though, have to go get my kids. So I got to go.
Go for it, man. We got it, brother.
Family is number one. David, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts and learning about Texas and what seems to be a great foundation for a citadel. So thank you very much for coming on, David.
Appreciate it, man.
In case you got to go, and Pablo, we're going to hang out.
Yep.
So, but David, I want to give you some final words and plugs, whatever. Please show your podcast, of which the link is below. And any product placement. We're not paid by product placement, but we think it's hilarious, so we do like to do product placement. Any products you want to put in there? Anything you want to plug? What you got?
Buy this game. Buy it twice. No, the dude Scott that made that game was my last guest. He's actually my second guest, but also my last guest. Really great guy. It's a fun game. You should play it. You should also listen to Bitcoin, and you should also listen to what I say on Twitter. That's at BENND77 on Twitter, also known as Nunya Bidness. It's BENND77 on Twitter. I will see you later.
Nunya what?
Nunya Bidness.
That's
Nunya
it.
Business.
Bye,
See you, man. Hey, man, we'll see you.
See you. There we go. So here's the deal, Pablo. We're not going to end this. I don't have to drive until 6.5 hours from now. I just want to quickly, before I give you some time to actually speak, answer Anya's question. We talk about Bitcoin as the future, but we always equate it in USD. So I spoke about this in the beginning. I just want to say the price of Bitcoin in fiat dollars is the measurement of the disruption of how far we got in taking over as money of the world. So it is absolutely relevant, and there's no problem talking about the price of Bitcoin in US dollars or other fiat currencies. It is the measurement of our progress, so it is okay. Poppy, my
Well,
man,
that's a,
I
yeah.
think we're almost alone. We've got 8 live viewers. I haven't seen anything in the chat. I think Greg, he went
Yeah.
off. Wore his pink dress. I think he disappeared. I don't
Nah,
know who else is in the chat.
no, I only have a couple minutes myself, man. So, no, so yeah, I'll tell you what, David, what a character, huh? What a great guest. It just very knowledgeable on so many different topics. Interesting and running his own podcast. Uh, you know what? Every time I come to this, I love the fact that one of our primary questions that we always get to is about hyper Bitcoinization.
You pushed it. You pushed it.
I did force it, of course. But what I've come to realize over each episode is every episode I redefine what is hyper Bitcoinization. And before it used to be, oh, that means that you buy a cup of coffee. Everything in the world is priced in Bitcoin, and you use Bitcoin to buy it. And it's changed for me because I foresee a future where hyper Bitcoinization to me is the ultimate value of something is just priced in Bitcoin. Not that you'll use it to buy something, but if you own it, that's the value. So, for example, Michael Saylor, to me, he could care less about Lightning because he holds it as a stored value, and it'll be cheaper. Would it not always be cheaper for me to just borrow money against my Bitcoin than to spend the Bitcoin itself?
If you haven't borrowed fiat currency to buy Bitcoin, you are bearish AF.
Yes. Right, but here's my point moving forward. Moving forward,
it's okay. You can try and cover it up. It's okay.
Yeah, no. But moving forward, if when you own Bitcoin, okay, and it gets to a point where people start accepting it and they want it the most, do I want to give that up, or do I want to lend it out to people that don't have it, or take money against what I already have without giving it up and take just a rate of return?
Yeah, as you can do that as long as something else has value. Like personally, later in this decade, I will not accept anything else than Bitcoin as payment.
Right.
Why would I do that? Why would I accept something that I believe has zero future? Why would I hold that? See, that's where Lightning Network, I believe, solves the problem of having low, getting payments of low values. Gold needed silver only because the value of gold was so high that it didn't make sense with gold dust because that would disappear. Bitcoin is indefinitely divisible. You don't need something else. It is Bitcoin only.
Well, how long, I know you're a big believer in Gresham's law, but how long is it going to take how long will it take for you to get rid of all the bad currency before when are you going to give up your Bitcoin to pay for something?
Well, you give up Bitcoin to pay for something once you're, I guess, financially independent in Bitcoin, right? But look, Bitcoin right now is at what, 0.3% of global monetary value, which means Gresham's law is not in effect for Bitcoin yet in terms of, yes, it's in effect, but it's not pushing out the dirt coins yet. As Bitcoin goes above 90% and 95, 98, that's when it's going to push out everything else. Nobody will want to hold something that is going down in value towards Bitcoin. Right now, still we have a lot of people believing that dollars, euro, yuan, rubles, etc. have a future. Later this decade, they'll realize it doesn't have a future. But Bitcoin doesn't, Gresham's law doesn't push out the other currencies until we are getting closer to the 100%, and we're at 0.3%.
I get it, man. I'm with you on that.
So on that note, you also said you had to go somewhere and
Yeah, I got to
be
finish
somewhere
up
and do
here.
something.
Yeah, still getting over my jet lag, everything. I had to get some dinner ready in early bed, catch up on my sleep.
All right, dinner sounds good. I'm hungry. I'll
Yeah.
probably order something on Postmates. But what are you having tonight?
Yeah, well, you got me talking. I'm thinking maybe getting some sushi, little takeout. What do you think?
No, that's
Yeah,
great. That's
yeah,
great.
man.
Takeout means you'll go there and pick it up. Not deliver. You're not looking for delivery. You
It,
happen to be
it,
back home, going out,
it's
meeting
around the corner.
people.
It's just around.
Right.
It's like a block and a half over. I can walk over and get it.
What kind of sushi are you having? What do you enjoy? What's your favorite?
So let's see. From nigiri or sashimi standpoint, salmon and tuna and crab are quite good. We have one tuna tataki, which I really enjoy. A nice
Mm-hmm.
spicy sauce on there. We have a couple go-to rolls here. I enjoy volcano roll. Basically, it's like a California roll with it's like a shredded spicy salmon on top with it,
Ooh.
and it's heated up. Yeah, that's a good one.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
I was gonna order some Thai yellow curry spicy, but now you got me thinking about the sushi. To be honest,
Can't go wrong, man. Can never go wrong. Even
no.
a Thai is good. Yeah. So yeah, something like that for tonight. But yeah, we'll get offline. We'll figure out what's coming up. You know, I got some vacation coming up and over the next 2 weeks and different scheduling things. But man, what a great 2 months we've had of guests on this show. Man,
Absolutely. Has it even been 2 months? I feel like I'm
no,
thinking
it
it
feels
feels
like it.
like 2 months, but I
Yeah.
think we haven't been doing this for much more than a month or something.
Yeah, I know. It's like Bitcoin price. It feels like it's been at 15,000 forever, right?
Kind of. That floor is being set, my friend.
I think so.
So yeah, does that mean that you'll be focusing on family and we won't do toxic happy hours for the next week or so, or 2 weeks, or are we
No,
gonna bring something for the Bitcoin Taco plebes next week?
no, I just got to figure out which day works best in the schedule. So it could be more short notice than usual. I don't have as much time as far as planning, so we'll figure it out.
Bro, I'm here. I don't have much to do except Bitcoin, so I'm here
Yeah, man.
anytime.
No, great stuff. All right, man.
Do you want to do any final words, any plugs, or should we go straight into talking about how terrible fiat currency is?
Oh,
And
no,
signing off.
no final plugs, man. Just great show as always. Just have a great time talking Bitcoin.
Absolutely, man. Good to see you again. Welcome back to the United States of America, where we have
Thanks,
a
man.
presidency that is currently undecided.
Yep.
That's how the democracy works. So, all right, let's be that
Okay.
let's that be the final words.
That's
Keep
it.
stacking sats out there. We are going up. It seems. No financial advice. But do not hold more value in fiat currency than you can afford to lose, because that is a built-in policy. On that note, see you next time. Bye.